Our conversations are meant to help us better understand this world that we live in, and we come from an atheist perspective. And part of our mission is to normalize open atheism in the same way society accepts open religion. We believe respectful dialogue is essential. These discussions are not about fiery rhetoric, but about honest ideas, shared experiences, and building comfort with open conversation. While we think it's important to teach children to think for themselves and to develop critical thinking skills, this show is aimed at adults. Sometimes the themes and languages are adult in nature. Please use your own discretion when watching or listening with your family.
And now, making their way to the studio, broadcasting live from inside the Vatican gift shop, it's the Unholy Roundtable.
Let's do it.
Hey, welcome back to the show. I am Mike Smithgall, your host for the Unholy Roundtable. And we've got a couple of different panelists here tonight. Some of you've seen, some of you have not. So we'll go, at least on my screen, top to bottom. We've got the other Mike, because I'm Mike. We've got Carlos Peciotto making his debut. And then we've got Cynthia from the Black Non-Believers here in Chicago. So welcome all of you to the show. And then on the back end that you cannot see, another God that you can't see, you can't hear, but just trust us, bro. She's really there. She keeps this show from falling into hell. That is MJ on the producer chair.
Yay,
So
MJ.
MJ. So welcome, everybody. Man, we got a bunch of great questions tonight. I've got a handful of stuff. I'm going to start out with a silly one because it's silly, but you'll find out why. It's kind of a good question that I'm sure you've all run across this. So let's start with this one. I'm going to read these out for the podcast. Why does God hate amputees? He must, or he would regrow their limbs instead of focusing on finding my car keys. Love it. Give him a point. Every time you pray, people, and we've talked about prayer before, but prayer always works on things other than growing limbs.
Right. Oh, absolutely.
No, that's not true. Because I remember back in 1980 something, I went to a revival, one of those camp meeting thingies, and the Lord grew a leg. The Lord, yes, he grew a leg because like the man's leg was uneven, and you know the pastor, preacher, missionary, evangelist person was like words, and he did like a magic spell, and then you just saw it like grow, even though like the guys like
leveled out. You mean?
Yeah, it did. And I was like, oh my gosh, look, Jesus is real.
I feel like that was fake.
I love that.
That's hilarious. I've never actually heard that someone did that. It's like it's such a con, but
yeah.
Oh my God!
And you were a kid though, right?
Yes,
this wasn't like when you were 37 or anything.
Oh gosh, no. I was like, I think that like me and my mom was invited to like a camp meeting by one of her friends, and it was like some guy who probably guested on like, the Trinity Broadcasting Network back in the day, right? Was like real cool with, Paul and Jan Crouch. And then, and that was like the go-to miracle, especially in the 80s, like the 70s and the 80s is like, your leg is uneven and God is going to grow.
Is that a thing? I didn't know that.
That was a thing. Yep. Yeah.
God, it's so scammy.
Yeah. Yes. I agree.
I recall that now. Yeah, I saw that on television.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. That was a go-to, and like I think that like who maybe the other Mike because I think that there was a what was that movie with Steve Martin or
Leap
of Faith.
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
he's a revivalist, kind of did the tent shows.
Yeah. And I think that, like, you know, the portion where I guess like the wife or the lady who would be speaking into the earpiece to say who to go
Oh
to
yeah,
pray for
the
them.
Peter Popo kind of thing.
Yeah, exactly. That was like a, you know, that
The
actually
legit
happened.
thing. Yeah,
Yeah.
Oh
I
yeah.
mean, that's insane. And I
it
mean, like,
was.
and how, like, you know, people would who worked for their ministry would
Mm-hmm.
go out into the audience, like, at first, and like vet who they were going to be bringing up
Yes.
to the front, and then like would tell him, oh, go to this person. Oh, the Lord is telling me I'm getting a download from heaven, brother. Oh, shamalama, shamalama.
Yeah.
The Lord is
Yeah.
telling me right now that you are having an issue with cancer. Oh, yes. Glory to God. Glory to his name. I'm going to bring you up here and I'm going to pray, and then the cancer be gone. Hallelujah.
It's
Yes.
so
And
funny.
it was, I mean, okay, it was funny because of the antics, but it wasn't funny because, like, people actually believed it. And just think, like, all the people, like, you know, who would like give up like their life savings to these people to say, oh,
Yes.
he healed me. Oh, you know, the Lord did this, the Lord did that. And then they didn't heal and then died. I know that, you know, that was something that happened to a lady who was a member of Kenneth Copeland Ministries.
Oh, that's another level
Yeah.
of crazy scam.
Yeah. Yeah.
Kenneth Copeland. Yeah,
Oh my
shameless.
gosh.
He
And-
said to COVID-19, he said, I blow the wind of God at you.
right.
I have a great video of that. This woman, black woman, she's and he's like, COVID-19, and she's repeating it. And
Yeah.
he's like, I blow the wind of God, and it cuts to her, and her eyelashes are all over her face, and her wig's off. It's such a great video.
Because
I love that woman. She's so funny in that video because it's just like, oh my God. But it's such a scam. I would love to go to revival. I've never been to one. I I grew up like you, Cynthia, as Episcopal. We don't really
Right.
do that level of craziness.
Yeah, that was not.
But I would love to go to one with those kind of guys. I would like to see it in person, just to see the theater of it all. I would love to. I'd be kind of annoyed and saddened, but yet fascinated with the show. You know, if that makes any sense.
I'm wondering how would it be if, like, all of us went to like one of those charismatic trips, like now.
Yes, we've got to
Like,
go.
Like, how would that? I mean, do you think that the Lord would impress the pastors or ministers to actually say, "There's a corner of atheists in that area right there, and you need to go ahead and handle them, or they're just, you know, to prove I exist or something."
Right?
Like,
Randy says that it's overrated. No,
Oh,
come
yeah.
on, man. You only say that because you've been, man. It's like saying Mount Rushmore's overrated, but you got to go. You
I
got to
know.
still see it.
I
gotta
haven't been
go.
to 10 meetings since I was 7. Come on,
I
Randy.
got to go to a Cohen, man. I want to see him handle the serpents because I want to see someone get bit by a freaking rattlesnake.
Oh my gosh, right. And have like no poison kit whatsoever to go ahead and handle them. Well, you know,
I
we
love
should,
that.
we
But
would-
you
we
know, it's
should
funny you
ask-
mentioned that Steve Martin. I had that clip, and I remember Cynthia. I think when all three of you, when I've done the individual Ask an Atheist, I have a clip from a preacher that is our pre-roll, and I was actually there was a clip in that show that I was debating on using where Steve Martin. I guess they were trying to make it rain, and he's like, you know, it's not raining. I say, when's it gonna stop raining? He's using it because it's the rain of Jesus and blah blah blah. I'm just like, it's just this craziness. Like, but I'm like, that's such a perfect revivalist kind of like they just take anything and twist it. I wish Scott was on. This would be a great conversation for Scott because Scott is a mentalist. Like he does hypnosis and that kind of stuff. And I've never asked him about it, but I know some people. I used to actually be a stand-up comedian with another guy who does nothing but the hypnosis stuff. I'm like, Bob, come on. Between you and me, Bob, you're not really hypnotizing anybody. Come on, you got it. Because I were with you when you weren't doing that. So come on, it's a learned thing, right? I have to ask to see if Scott will give us some secrets because that's what they're doing. They're picking out pieces of information, just like the palm readers and stuff like that, and they can twist it, and it comes across very theatrical and works, right? But I never knew about the legs thing, so I'm going to take that whole question back about the amputees, and we're gonna move on because apparently that's possible. I didn't know that. Who knew? That's ridiculous, man. All right, let's see. Oh, let me delete this question. This is actually a question for Carlos and Cynthia because you two are the single people in the group, where Mike and I are not, happily not, because MJ's on the other end of this broadcast.
Right. No comment.
Could you date someone? I added an extra. Yeah. So could you date someone that's religious? And Cynthia, you and I just talked about this Sunday, right? We were having brunch.
We did. Yeah,
so
we did.
Either one of you can jump in that, but I definitely want you to retell that story, Cynthia, because I thought it was very interesing.
Carlos,
so Carlos, you want to jump in? Start with Carlos since you haven't got a chance yet.
All right. Well, I don't know. I've seen, like, when I was in high school, I dated briefly this one girl, and I didn't know she was religious until we went home, and then she pointed to a portrait of Cesare Borgia's like lover or whatever, which, you know, the typical blonde, you know, the very long, fair hair, fair skin Jesus, and said,
right,
this is the most important man in my life.
Uh-huh.
Like, well, I'm an atheist, and I mean, she broke up with me that Monday. So, I mean, for
as a result,
I was a selfish twat, but you know, but all the same though, I've been in a relationship with someone who a couple of women who were fairly observant Jews, and that that doesn't really I mean, it didn't really come, that did not really like get in the way. So there are other things.
Jewish people, I always find, or you tell me, because I know you are into this more than I understand, Carlos. With Jewish people, it never seems to be as you must be a devil worshiper, blah blah blah. Now sometimes they don't want to date or marry outside of the faith, and there's a big deal with that. But I guess here's what I'll say it this way: I've never had a Jewish person come down on me for being an atheist like I have had Christians. Yeah. Is that a cultural thing, or have I just not interacted with enough Jewish people with atheism being part of the conversation?
Okay, well, what I understand, Jews think more deeply about their religion, especially observant Jews, and they go from this oral back and forth tradition. Then their rabbis have opinions, and one of the more well-known opinions is why did God make atheists? Well, I was like, and so but in short, in a nutshell, this rabbi's opinion that, you know, God made atheists so that to show that people just do good for its own sake, rather than rely upon Adonai to determine, you know, what's good, you know, like basically rather than like lean on religion so much. Like, there's a moral center that they see that's exclusive of their, you know, of their God, of Adonai. So, and that's something that I find very interesting. It's very, I mean, again, rabbis by and large are fairly thoughtful people. I mean, they're very learned. I mean, it comes from a great tradition of debate in the religion. And yeah, 4 Jews in one room, 5 different opinions.
And they're not evangelical in that sense. That's not part of their religion, right? To go out there and preach like that.
You don't. Yeah, Jews are not. You know, they aren't evangelical necessarily, but there are zealots. All right, there. I mean, just look at Israel.
So. Yeah, I mean, I guess that's true. There's zealots in all groups, but by and large, I don't. And then maybe again, I'm talking about the American Jewish person versus, say, the American evangelical Christian. I just don't get the same.
A wide gap.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah, most Jews towards evangelicals are just like, they're fairly dismissive. You know,
of evangelicals, you mean? Jewish?
Yeah, evangelical. Yeah. They're fairly dismissive of it. They're like, this is just a lot of flim flam, and it's just like it's a foreign thing, because Christians don't like the evangelicals don't question the word if it came from. It's like if it came from someone bigger than them, like their pastor. It's usually the pastor that invents all this crap, you know.
True, yeah.
And says it's the word of God. It goes from God to me to you. That's their attitude. Remember that there's a scene in the movie Meatballs where like their rival camps, the ragtags at North Star versus these, you know, the one coach from the evil camp said like it goes from God to me to you.
That's funny. I had forgotten.
Okay, yeah, this is a mentality. This is a whole mentality.
Yeah. I want to say real quick, S Law. I don't know if S Law, have you been on the show before, but welcome. And Larry asked me just before Cynthia, because I do want to get to your experience here. He asked Larry if I was an atheist when I met MJ, but we met in high school, and I would say yes, but not fully formed. If that makes sense. Like I had already this doesn't really make sense to me. I already had a disdain for authority, so that was a whole other issue right there. But it just was not making sense to me. And again, Cynthia and I have talked about this plenty of times because we grew up Episcopal. It's a very light, casual religion, anyways. So I was confirmed. I'd taken communion, and it just was never like this. It doesn't feel like it's right. But that's kind of as far as I went. And then I was just into like cars and MJ. So I really didn't care what else was going on in the heavens or not. I had my own ideas, but I took action on them as much as I possibly could. But I wasn't really an atheist yet. But later on, as an 18, 19-year-old, when I started meeting gay people and I started meeting foreigners, and I realized that Southern Baptists that I lived around were so against both of those groups, and me realizing these friends that I have that are gay seem quite nice and friendly. I don't know why I've been hearing all this, because we lived in the South, so Southern Baptist was really the dominant religion. So that pushed me away from the religion. So if it didn't really make sense, and then the religion itself pushed me away, it took me a while to kind of form all that together in my teenage brain. But so that's a long-winded way of saying it, Larry, but now you know. So Cynthia, tell me. Oh, I'm sorry. Do you have something real quick, Carlos?
Yeah, I just wanted to finish answering that question.
Oh, yeah.
Skip to now. I probably wouldn't want to date anyone. Could I date someone religious? If they were maybe a devout subgenius, maybe,
Sure.
or were some crazy, like, I don't know, if they were like, I believe in Eris or something like, they're like something that, or someone who's into earth-based spirituality. I could probably make that sort of thing. It's something that's not an Abrahamic by the books, except for Jews. I could still date a Jew, but the religiosity and mine would probably have to be either negotiated or just like it could be a deal breaker. Depends on our other values,
Sure. Yeah.
But I couldn't date an evangelical. Our beliefs are just like straight up incompatible.
Right. Yeah.
And they're just awful people to be around in general, I find. I'm sorry,
Yeah, that's all right.
I'm pretty sure not every
We're all friends here.
Yeah.
Okay. You're in a safe space.
Right. But I do know my friend who's the black sheep of his family. He grew up in an evangelical household. Everybody in that family is part of the evangelical movement except for him. And I've met his sister. His sister's, predictably nice. They're nice people. They're nice people.
So Cynthia, tell us about.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Cynthia. Tell us about your experience here recently. At least your recent one, unless you had a better story.
Oh yeah. I told a story when we were at brunch about a person who I was briefly seeing. So I know that when we met, when they first came to my house, they had this big old silver cross necklace on.
It's your first clue.
And, yeah. And I was just like, oh shit. And so I found myself not necessarily being very overt when coming out as atheist to him specifically. And he didn't, even though it seemed more so for a better words, performative Christian, he believed, but it wasn't something that was overt, I'm about to beat you over the head with the Bible and
right, just a casual belief.
Yeah. And it's more so part of how I grew up. It's a cultural thing more so than me being this type of person, right? And so I know that after a while I had an issue where at my at the place where I was working, I suspect, I don't know, but I suspect that the director Googled me, and the first thing that comes up is my picture on Black Non-Believers website me being like, you know, the
Right.
lead affiliate of, you know, Black non-believers in Chicago. And then I come to work that Monday and there's like 3 scriptures, like, you know, scribbled on the
Oh, boy.
board
Yeah.
behind me, right? And if I don't remember what the scriptures are, but you know, but it was there, right? And so I was just like, and I never talked about religion in the workplace. I know that there were people who would come up to me and be like, hey Cynthia, it's Sunday's coming, are you going to church? I was like, mm-mm. You know,
That's not-
and it was like, oh, you don't have a church home? I was like, mm-mm. And it's like, oh, you should go to church. I was like,
oh boy.
mm-mm. And and I mean, because like in the last thing that I really want to do is like have these like, you know, knockdown, drag out debates with people concerning, you know, my lack of faith, right?
Right.
And so I remember calling him and like complaining, yeah, these scriptures on my desk, I don't even know what the heck that's about, blah 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 blah. And he was like, yeah, you know, that's not, you know, that's not like real cool, why would they do that, yada yada yada. But you know, I could tell, you know, as time went on and like he would ask me what I was doing, I would be like, oh, I'm doing this thing, I'm doing that thing. And a lot of it had to do with like engagements dealing with Black non-believers, traveling to go speak somewhere, whatever, right? And then, you know, but I kind of saw like the distance like happening as like that happened, and then I just messed around and shaved my head like so.
Oh,
And you know, I know, right? And then like,
there's
you
some
know,
controversy about that.
oh gosh,
Oh.
yes, oh gosh, right? And then, you know, he was like, you know, well, at least you have like a nice shaped head, but you know, you look better with hair. And I was like,
Not a
okay.
peanut head. That's a good head.
Right, yeah, you got, you know, a nice round spherical head like the earth. And
Globe head.
right, I have a globe head, I don't have a flatter head, you know. So yeah, and then like I think that following week he sent me a text message saying that, you know, we should just be friends.
Oh man.
And you know, I was just like, and I think that like for me, I am of the mind like I don't care about religion, but unfortunately, religious people care about religion. You know,
Yes.
and a lot of times, you know, from a person who was formerly like, you know, religious and in that world, that your belief becomes your identity. And when it becomes your identity like that, it gets to the point where like it can basically inform everything about you, who you hang out with, what you consume, what you watch, everything, right?
Yeah.
And I know that I am not going to be able to, you know, be with a person that is in that space, kind of like Antangelo, who makes really bad arguments about everything concerning Christianity and has been doing it for a very long time. And you would think Antangelo would learn something and make better arguments, but he ain't learned yet. And unfortunately, there are Antangelos that are still out there that troll atheist shows like Atheistville, like he's doing right now.
I don't know really Antangelo, do I?
No, I know that you don't
do
know
you?
Antangelo,
Okay.
But I know Antangelo, and Antangelo knows me. And Antangelo, honey, I need you to get a better hobby, okay? So, anywho.
Well, thanks for joining, Antangelo.
I need you to get a better hobby.
Antangelo, you just got sat down. I just want to say that. Go lay down by your dish. Holy crap.
Antangelo been out of these atheist streets for years, honey. He needs to get a better hobby. He needs to get like better arguments. And honey, you know nothing about biology. And I am the unbiologist person at anywhere in life. And you need to learn more about biology, learn more about science, and stop making up arguments to fit your particular narratives just so that you can actually put everybody in your presuppositional point of view. That part.
Here's what I like about this whole thing, Cynthia. A lot of people on this show bring fans. You bring haters. And that's you bring your own haters.
I love it. I love it. It's great.
We will take all comers. I was telling Mike earlier, when people were hassling you about that something else on YouTube earlier, I was like, all right, you know how much you're helping the algorithm? Like, bring it on. Bring it on.
Oh
so
my
funny.
gosh.
Yeah, Antangelo. Well, Cynthia's a good argument collab, blah, 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 blah. Yeah, no. So that's going to take us way Antangelo corroborate so Cynthia
I
has
just
good
want
arguments to corroborate naturalism.
This is
I just
No,
got to say this. You don't have to hear them from me. You heard them from the best. You heard them from actual biologists who actually studied naturalism on
that's
Tangelo.
it. Like I'm not.
You've heard them already.
stalking.
You engaged them. You called into atheist shows where scientists who studied naturalism, who studied the theories of evolution from Darwin on. You have engaged all of these people. You've heard the arguments. You don't have to hear them from me.
I have to hear.
You really
And again,
don't.
we're not experts on that.
Right, I'm not a scientist.
I'm not a scientist.
Right, I'm
don't-
not a scientist, but I have heard you get your ass handed to you every which way that you actually have been on these shows, and you just need to go. Like I said, you just need to go ahead and take your L.
Take the
Okay.
L.
Yeah, I think this is
Take the
another
L.
excellent
The L train.
example of the situation that a lot of atheists face when we're trying to have a cogent discussion about religion or our lack of belief.
Mhm.
And what it really comes down to, and I'm not trying to be inflammatory here, but this is truly what this becomes after a while. It's
Yeah.
like playing chess with a pigeon. Everyone knows that
Yeah.
analogy.
That analogy.
The
Yeah.
pigeon will knock over all the pieces, shit on the board, and claim that they won.
Exactly.
It's an immovable force and an immovable object. But what
Right.
I'm really proud about is the fact that I'm always going to rely on science and reason.
Correct.
That's what I'm going to rely on. I
scientists.
don't have to come up with magical reasons for anything.
right.
No.
I don't have to come up with an absurd series of absurdities, if you will, that that support anything that I experience in this world.
Right.
It's not necessary.
No.
Eliminate the absurdity and the magical thinking from your life. Hang on to the wonderful things that we have here in this universe and get it together.
Yeah.
Quit
Yes.
being a pigeon. Quit being a pigeon.
I got a question for this Otangelo character.
Oh boy.
Do you feel like you have to come on these, you feel like you have to troll these groups and come on and try to harass atheists because if you don't, you're going to hell?
Yeah,
Balls in
Otangelo,
your court,
are you
Otangelo.
motivated to do this because it gives you some sort of is it some kind of odd, delicious, contrarian sort of attitude that you get some sort of endorphin hit, or
Of course not. Of course not. That's silly.
are you going through deconstruction? Because there's a possibility there, and if you are, then this is the place where you can come and talk about it.
It's a safe space.
You could make a completely different YouTube account and just come in and engage, not as Otangelo, as everybody knows you, but just as a genuinely curious person, because this is the space for that.
Yeah.
This isn't Dillahunty's show.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
Mike Smithgall is Mike Smithgall, and
Yeah,
he's
I'm not going to scream.
creating
Which
an environment.
Well, the other Mike, he has engaged Mike Dillahunty. I'm sorry, Matt Dillahunty. Shout out to you, Matt. How you doing? On numerous occasions. He's also talked with Boris Falkai, who is an evolutionary biologist.
Yep, and you want to know what that
Yeah.
means to me? That means
Yeah.
absolute zero to me, because here's the invitation to you, Otangelo.
Antangelo, yes.
Here's the invitation.
Yeah.
If you want to have a conversation, then let's have a conversation. But just to barf out a bunch of statements, like, and if the viewers want to, they can go ahead and scroll back and see everything that you've stated.
Mhm.
If you want to have a conversation, then let's do it. But it seems to me that you're a pigeon, bro. And I'm not. I live by a couple of different things. Be kind, have fun, take no shit. Get out of
Yeah.
here with your shit.
Yeah.
I said it.
Yeah. And
Because you're taking
maybe-
up my time. There's been too much focus on
And you know what?
Yeah, we're going to move on.
And we're gonna then we're just gonna move on.
Kick
But
rocks.
I just got to say this one thing, because this is something that I have encountered with people of my Antangelo's mindset. It's just that we are of the mindset that like we don't mind having conversations with people who happen to be of a different mind, a different hue, a different hubris than us, right? But unfortunately, you do have people who already make assumptions about us just because we are not believers. And they have a script that they normally follow every time that they
the same
engage
things.
with us, when it comes to, and a lot of it is this regurgitated William Lane Craig, or other like apologists that happen to be pretty like popular on the interwebs, right?
Right.
And the thing about and the thing about it is that you can never get to whatever type of goal that you're having. Even in your mind, you're thinking, oh, I just want to have a conversation. That's not really what you want to do.
No.
What you really want to do is just show up people who don't believe and think like you. And guess what? There are different people from different cultures and different backgrounds and different lifestyles that happen to inhabit this earth. And we're not all going to think the same. We're not all going to believe the same. And guess what? That's okay.
That's fine.
That is totally fine. And this is the reason why I am telling Antangelo, honey, you've been doing this way too long. Get a new hobby. I heard that there's some really good shows on Netflix that have come out recently. Check those out.
Jesus Camp is probably on there.
Oh,
we're gonna move
happy
on
people, but that's on Prime.
Yeah. Tangelo, again, I'm going to say this to Tangelo for the first time on this particular episode. We absolutely give people an opportunity to say their piece, but we don't spend the whole show on it. This isn't really a debate show. And we'll talk and we'll have like we've done. I think you and Cynthia had some previous experience. So she came in with a different, I had no idea who you were. So she kind of filled us in. But that's just not what we do. There's plenty of atheist shows out there where you can get online or you guys can go live and scream back. It's just not what we're going to do. If you've gotten any impression that I'm kind of a prick about things, you missed the point because I'm pretty happy-go-lucky guy. I don't bitch and moan and back and forth and fight you and blah. It's just not going to happen, man. So if that's what you're looking for, you're on the wrong show. But I do appreciate you checking in. I appreciate relatively civil tone. I mean, quite frankly, even though we disagree, obviously, but it was fairly civil. So we'll let you have your piece, man. And I'm going to say, who was that? T-Mac 2221, just checking in. Hello.
Another Chi-Town Black non-believer.
Black non-believers in the house.
Right on, right on.
Fantastic. We're going to move to, let's see, you got another question here. Hold on a second. Oh, this one. It's funny. You, Cynthia, you just mentioned, you didn't say creationist, you used the other word.
Naturalism.
Evolution. Word, but basically the fundamentalist type of thing. I forget what you just said. But
naturalism.
That's sort of people. So I've got a video response here. Oh, first let me run this a little quicker. And again, if you guys have questions, put them in the YouTube channel. MJ's monitoring them, and we're putting them up as we get to them. But let me give you this one. This is a video one. Hold on just 1 second. Let me get to it. This is this guy.
Flood. Why are we finding fish fossils on top of Mount Everest? Say it was once a seabed. No kidding, it was a seabed. It's called the flood. Not millions of years ago, though. Crazy thing is, almost every single culture has a flood myth or story. Tons of fossilized nautiloids all over the Grand Canyon as well. In fact, I wonder how the Grand Canyon got there.
Okay.
This hurt.
Fucking magnets. How do they work?
And I want one real caveat before anybody says anything. I was saying, I actually made a short on TikTok, which is where that guy came from. I am not 100% sure that he is not just a parody account. I use the word Poe, and if for people at home that don't know what the word Poe is, Poe's Law. This guy named something Poe came up with this a handful of years ago, where he made a point that the way that creationists talk, it's impossible to tell if it's creationists being sincere or someone completely parroting, making a parody of creationists, because it's nutty either way. I'm kind of butchering the way I said it, but that's the point. And on this guy, I watched a handful of his things. Like, it's so crazy that it could be parody or it could be completely creationist. I can't tell. So I'm going to give him 1/10 of 1% that he's just being a goofball and he's getting away with it because I fell for it. But nonetheless, this is not an uncommon question. We have all seen that statement, right? Why are there fossils on top of Mount Rushmore or Mount Everest?
Right.
Anybody wants to jump in on that one, please feel free, because we had a little bit of discussion online earlier.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Go ahead, the other Mike.
Yeah, because it's if this could be a situation where, and this is an opportunity for us as atheists, or I should say just as regular human beings, to be able to, I mean, all religion aside, sometimes people don't know things. Sometimes people don't know anything about plate tectonics and slope upheaval, you know? and they aren't aware that there's layers in the earth, and it's change over time. They may not be aware of that. And if the only thing that someone hears is God did it, God did it, God did it, then you run into a situation where you have an opportunity. Now, whether you take that opportunity or not, you know, that's entirely up to everybody. But I truly think that in a lot of these situations, kind of like what Mike is saying, you know, there's a very good chance that you know, to be up there in the algorithm, people will go ahead and post things like this. But at the same time, hey, give the guy the benefit of the doubt, maybe. And it just that's basic geology, bro.
It's such a common, silly question to me, but it's so common. And we were all talking before the show. I had to go to ChatGPT. It's like, there's no way I can calculate this by hand. And I don't remember, Mike, if you remember, but if you think about this, so here's Mount Everest.
I remember.
29,000 and some change feet high above sea level.
Yeah.
So for that
in
to
the
have been
stratosphere.
true, there had to been enough water on the entire globe to go up 29,000 feet and then just go away, which left all the fish fossils at the top. And the volume of water, it was like some trillion. If you looked at the volume of water equaling the Empire State Building, it was like a trillion something Empire State Building worth of
1.4 trillion
of extra
Empire
water.
State buildings
And it just went
full of water.
Where? That's a hell of a deep lake. I mean, Lake Michigan right out my door here, is it, dude? It's pretty deep, but it's not freaking trillion Empire State Building deep. Where did this water go? I guess it went in the ferment. But it's just such a silly, just logically silly, that it's impossible to believe that people can truly believe that. But I don't know. This guy, maybe he does.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's fossils.
I think that people forget that the earth is old as hell.
Exactly.
Older than hell.
That's true.
Older than that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It is old AF. Okay. and also the earth went through ages. It went through ages.
Yeah.
Ice ages, you know.
Five extinction events. Five massive extinction events.
Yeah.
And none of them, we guarantee you, none of them were Noah's flood.
None of them.
Zero.
Not at all. Not at all. I mean,
Angelo.
like even if you want to talk about, like, you know, how did the Grand Canyon form? I'm like, you know, like when a lot of the times when you had the ice age and those like particular waters melt, when the ice melted, it actually carved out those formations in rock. I mean, and you can even tell like how old each portion of it is, you know, which scientists, archaeologists, they've all done this information. And yeah, you can go on Gemini and say, why are there, matter of fact, I did this. I just asked, like, why are there sea fossils on the top of Mount Everest? And this is what Gemini told me, okay? Because remember, Cynthia is not a scientist. Sea fossils are found on Mount Everest because it's summit rock. And then it says a word that I cannot pronounce, but I'm going to try. It's the Komolangma limestone.
Sure.
Was once part of an ancient ocean floor before the Indian and the Eurasian tectonic plates collided, uplifting the marine sediments into world's highest mountains through a process called plate tectonics.
Yes. It's very
and they have shifted.
I like what S. Law says. The process of plate
Well,
tectonics and mountain formation is pretty well understood at this point. Pretty solid science.
Solid science.
S. Law is a friend of mine, so I just wanted to say hello to you, buddy.
Yeah.
Hey, Asla. I mean, this is stuff that's like found in like grade school, like textbook.
Yes, it's very early. We learn this quite early in our education, about plate tectonics. It's funny. I have a different channel that I used to do more on, but I took my truck when we lived in San Diego. I took my truck out into the desert, which is this big Enza Borrego desert, massive, beautiful desert, and 90 miles from San Diego are oyster beds. 90 miles into the desert are oyster beds. And that's where I drove out to because I wanted to see them. I was with a bunch of other guys in four-wheelers. Oyster beds. You can just walk. I mean, there's millions of these, prehistoric sort of, black oysters because they're freaking old, right? 90 miles from the ocean. It's not God. There was an ocean there at one point, but it's not Noah. I mean, things move over millions of years. It was fascinating, but I didn't think, oh my God, this is proof that Noah was here. It never occurred to me.
I don't remember reading anywhere in Genesis about God putting also 2 of every kind of animal, including oysters.
You're right. Yes, including oysters.
Well, because if that was the case, I would think that they would have gotten eaten with Louisiana hot sauce.
I think exactly. Noah would have eaten at some point,
perhaps.
Whereas Scott brought up in one of our earlier things, he wants to know which one of Noah's family carried all the STDs because those are living viruses.
Oh yeah, nice.
Like you
It
get the
was-
herpes and you get the syphilis and you get whatever.
It was Shem.
Yeah, blame it all in Shem.
And if everyone looks under their chair right now, you'll find chlamydia.
You get chlamydia. Coming out of his bedroom, something similar to that about little Debbie snack cakes. You can buy Debbie's.
There you go.
Yes.
They're ridiculous.
Or no. I'm sorry.
Yeah,
I take that back. It's not Shem. It was Ham because
I don't know all the people in the family.
Yeah, well, Noah cursed Ham because he saw him naked
with
and drunk.
syphilis.
Yep.
Naked and drunk.
So for all you kids at home out there experimenting with sex, Noah is your problem.
I want to bring something up regarding ancient floods, though.
Yeah, man.
Like probably about 10,000 years ago or thereabouts, there used to be a massive land that connected Britain with the Netherlands and Belgium and that little area. It's called Doggerland.
Really?
And
okay.
something about the third, something about the Ice Age. That area just all of a sudden was flooded. Scientists have determined that there was some kind of flood because there exists actual human, like there's like human made tools in that area.
Really? Okay.
Right. Yeah, and it's makes me wonder if this myth of the flood was actually carried on from people like back in prehistory, and it like got kind of retranslated through like the game of telephone, as you
and it gets moved around because that guy did say everybody has this
down
thing.
The line,
Yeah, it's a common
geologically
thing.
We can go. Geologically, we can go back to the end of the Younger Dryas period, and we can see that there's meltwater pulse 1A and meltwater pulse 1B. Mm-hmm. And those are collectively responsible for after the ice sheet that covered most of the a good portion of the northern hemisphere. When that melted, then we had a 300-meter level sea rise. 300 meters. That's a lot of feet. Yeah. So that's what was locked up in the ice sheets. And whole entire areas like in Lake Michigan here, they're looking deeper and they're finding prehistoric structures that they think were utilized to be able to channel caribou or other animals into hunting areas because they've seen that on the land. Yeah, absolutely. Our coastlines, just a few meters deep, are absolutely filled with all kinds of ruins. Doggerland, exactly like you were talking about, it's an excellent location to be able to study some of this stuff, because the North Sea, under where it is, does a great job of keeping the sediment and everything rather thin, so we can get radar into those locations. We can see this. And if we consider also that right now today, the vast majority of people live on a coastline. That's just the way that humans operate.
Yeah.
And they've always operated that way. You know,
that's because we don't have gills. Okay.
Right. We don't have gills.
And also, I have it on good authority.
Evidence of vestigial gills that will pop up in some people. They get a small little hole, and it's connected to a gene that's found in fish, and we carry that gene as well. And there'll be a small little hole that will appear, and it's actually a throwback to a vestigial gill, is what it is.
So we came from Aquaman.
It's like just like that way.
Do I have any holes right here?
I know.
It'll appear eventually as we get older. It's also too, like, you know, I was listening to another scientist talking about, like, you know, how we have evidence of our of tails of human beings having tails.
Vestigial tails. So
I mean, like, you know, it's just so fascinating, just like all the you know, the inferences of, you know, how we evolved as in the universe, how we have evolved as a species, how the earth has evolved in itself. I mean, just think about it. Millions and millions of years ago, billions of years ago, when the earth first formed, which was basically like a big portion of, like, you know, of asteroids like forming together, and then you know, we had like a big old chunk of it, like, you know, get pushed off through the gravity and form the moon, our satellite, and then how all of this, like, over millions and millions and millions and millions of years have evolved into what the earth has in today, without any type of pre-mover or, you know, ghost father or any type of
none of it requires magic.
Right. No magical interference whatsoever in order for it to, you know, form into what it is now. I think this is absolutely fascinating. And I understand that human beings have a predisposed. Is that right? No.
Predisposed.
Thank you. That is the word that I was looking for. I was getting there. Didn't quite, you know, tip of the tongue. But we're predisposed to actually see patterns. We're predisposed to even like, you know, try to fill in. Yeah, fill gaps in where we may not necessarily have knowledge. You know, we say, God of the gaps. Exactly. That's why, you know, there's so many. Like, you know, I don't understand how this works, therefore God, right?
Yeah.
So, but like one I remember on one of the call-in shows that Antangelo got banned from, is one of the things that they discussed is I'll let him tell it. Anyway, one of the things that they were talking about is when they asked the question saying that, like, how come we as a species have not found any evidence of the supernatural? I said, because everything that we equivocated to the supernatural has a natural, when we actually did some more investigation, has a natural explanation.
Yes.
And I'm pretty sure that the next thing that we may not necessarily understand is going to come up with a natural explanation as well. So, you know, that, you know, so I think that that's something, and that's again, fine. It's
There's nothing wrong with that. Yes.
It's nothing wrong with that. You don't need a creator in order for you to exist.
No, in fact, it's interesting you bring that up. I think it was Wednesday, just this previous week's Wednesday, my mic drop that I do every Wednesday was exactly that. It was about the God of the gaps. And in that, I talked about what you just said, Cynthia, which is exactly it, that science constantly moves forward. And when it does, religion is always in retreat. And the two examples I gave, among some others, was epilepsy, and there was another one that's escaping me off the top of my head I used, but like epilepsy, for example. Well, that was demons until we realized it wasn't demons. And then now, so the religion had to retreat. Like, okay, well, it's not demons. Yeah, we get that it's neurology, you know, blah, blah. because the science said, no, it's a problem in the brain. So the religion had a retreat. Oh, I know the other one was electricity. That was the wrath of God and Zeus and blah, blah, blah. For some religions, until like a guy's out there flying a kite, Ben Franklin, and you're like, no, there's electricity. Well, religion had to step back and retreat. Okay, well, yeah, okay, that's natural. We get it. So the science keeps moving forward and religion has to keep shrinking back. So now a lot of religion is where like, well, what formed the world or the universe? Okay, we don't have an exact answer for that yet. Really indisputable. We have very, very good hypothesis. Okay, but it's not as easy to prove as epilepsy. That doesn't mean we won't prove it tomorrow or 100 years from now or whatever. The retreat though of religion constantly moves back because the gaps get smaller and smaller and smaller. And they rely on these gaps. If we had had this conversation on 2,000 year ago live stream, the gaps would have been this wide because everything was a freaking gap. It had to be God, right?
Because 2,000 years ago, streaming would have been a thing. And Mike, you're being disingenuous because obviously every problem that we can say that happened with the brain and our bodies is Tylenol. So
there you go. There you go. All right, let's move on to another one. This is actually, so we've been joking around a lot, so I'm gonna hit you with a serious one because this is actually a legitimately good, serious question here. This person asked, did anyone else experience depression or deep existential anxiety after losing their belief? So there's no afterlife, there's no grand scheme, there's no, any, no main reason for our existence. When you remove religion, a lot of that sort of does go away. And I could see why people would be have some anxiety about that or some depression. I mean, the depression one is very obvious when you think of, I won't get to see my grandparents that I thought all my life I get to see again, or my parents or whatever, whoever you missed, you have to face that as an atheist that, yeah, they're gone. And, when I lost grandma, like my grandmother died in 2005, 2006, that was it. I'm never going to she was a lovely, lovely, beautiful woman. I will never see her again. It'd be so much nicer to know that I would, but I won't, and if I was that kind of person, I might be depressed about that, Yeah. So let's talk about that.
Can I tell my story? I think I told you on your channel before, Mike.
Yeah.
I remember when I went through a 10-year period of I would say deconversion or deconstructing, not necessarily deconversion, because up until 2018, I was still considered a believer. And I remember the day that God died,
Really?
Yeah. I remember, because like I think I told you how I was like kind of going through different inceptions of spirituality to try to find meaning of life. I tried, Buddhism. I was big into yoga. I had crystals, the whole gambit. I, sought out a lot of like Eastern religions, and philosophies and things of that nature, just to try to, because I would say like starting like around 2007, like I kind of just like made it up in my mind, even though I made it up in my mind to myself that Christianity just wasn't working for me. And I remember being in my bedroom, and it was 2000, it was like fall of 2000 and no, it was like summer 2018. And I was trying to meditate, to chant, because at that time I started, practicing Nichiren Buddhism. And when I started, I was ready. I had my bell, I had the Gehunzen open, I'm looking at the scroll, I'm ready to get into the mode. And then I just started crying.
Really?
I did. I just started bawling. And the reason being is because I realized that what I was doing, for what? And that's when I realized that, there was no God. And then I started bawling even more because I was wondering to myself, like, well, how did I survive all this time? Like, if I fall, who's going to be there to catch me? Because I always had like this notion that, a God or whatever would be there to catch me in a very, hard time in my life. And now I'm alone. I'm on my own. I got to do it all. I got to make every decision myself. I can't I can't confer with like, a wiser, older being that created me. And that did really cause like, like an existential crisis in that moment. And I really was like, how like you can cry panic, and that's really what's happening. I was like crying, panicking, because I really didn't know how I was going to move on from this realization that I had. And I had to stop myself, and I had to start to think. And I said, well, all these other times when you actually had like, something that really was like terrible happened to you, you got through that one, and you got through another one, and you got through that one, and it was all you.
It was you. Yeah.
Yeah. So if you got through that, you can get through this, and
Good
then,
point.
and that's the thing that helped, quell my crisis at that particular time. But yeah, I can just imagine, like, if I didn't like, peer back in my brain to find that rationale, I still probably would be in my bedroom crying, trying to figure out how in the world will I survive if there is no God to catch me if I fall.
T-Mac said the same thing, Cynthia. It took him a while to, and T-Mac, I apologize. I don't know male or female. Cynthia,
Yeah,
I don't know who T.
Titus.
Titus is okay. Yes, I know Titus. Okay.
Yes, you do.
I don't know why I keep forgetting your handle, Titus. So Titus said that he did struggle with that as well, same as you. And I asked him, how long? He says, it's a long time. And he makes a really good point. It's another sort of side of that. It's okay with, he had to realize it was okay for bad people would not be receiving sort of justice. And it's like you good and the bad. Like I mentioned, I won't see my grandmother, or I won't see any loved ones or whatever. At the same time, the vengeance that I was kind of hoping for these bad people who commit bad things, like that doesn't happen either. And some point, and we're going to see bad people that are bad all their lives, and they will just die of natural causes quietly in their bed, and they got away with it. And it's really hard to deal with sometimes. Yeah, I mean, it's terrible, but like, but that unfortunately is the life that we have. And you gotta weigh that, and it's challenging. So thank you, Titus. And I apologize for not recognizing T-Mac was Titus. How do you guys, Carlos or Mike? Do you guys have any of that? Did you go through any of that process? Carlos, you were kind of young, but I
was rather young, and I was figuring it out as I went along. Really, it's kind of like I realized, like, I remember I kind of felt like I was feeling like my prayers were not being answered. That there wasn't really any that I didn't. It was like I started to question what this, not only what not only the God, but like what this God looked like, because it was pretty well like most Christians think of a guy with a beard and long hair, and he's someone who's like it's like they because they said man made God made man in his own image, which is really the other way around. But
right, yeah,
it really is the only other way around. But I just sort of started to think about, like, wait, what's this God even look like? Where does this God even exist at? There's no, like, from what we understand about the universe and the things that I was learning, I was like, it just kind of came to me. I wasn't really so much like, it wasn't like a deep sort of sadness or anything like that. It was just sort of like, wait a second. I was trying to figure out what was going on. And I kind of realized, this is what's happening. There really is no God.
Yeah.
But I was and at the time it was like, I mentioned in our podcast when it was just me and Smithgall, that it was that my own experience was that. Okay, I lost my train of thought. I'm so sorry. But basically, we're talking about like my deconversion, my deconstruction, and everything.
The depression or realization that
the realization, and just kind of like having a hard time reconciling what this what God looked like to begin with. I was trying to think of like, and where it lived, where it dwelled in in relation to the universe, and it's like, well. I mean, and now I'm confirmed. Now I feel fairly confirmed in my atheism because you know that there are people in Gaza praying for their lives, and many are dying, and
no
the children
answer.
who pray to their God for to be spared. That their prayers pretty well went unanswered if they're dead now, especially. And it's like, why would God bless you with a beautiful car or like any sort of like things thank you God for this, but then like ask a kid in Gaza what's going on, like when they prayed, what happened to them,
Yeah.
So
in every war, each side prays to the Creator for success and dominion over their enemies. So, I mean, what do we say then at that point when one wins and the other one doesn't? The other side didn't pray enough. You know, it starts to get into that goofiness. It makes you have to start asking some strange questions. In my scenario, I didn't necessarily go through a depression. I mean, I was bummed out, but I didn't have a deep existential anxiety or anything. Let me rephrase that. I did have anxiety over the fact that I was full on having a hard time with the idea that I was way into this imaginary friend. I mean, think about that. And then
you
I
were depressed
remember
because of how deeply you were into it.
Right. I mean, I thought that that this imaginary friend worked in my life. And all of a sudden I'm realizing that there's a lot of other people that I really love that are way into this imaginary friend. And that's kind of not okay. Yeah. It's really not okay. It's delusional. It's delusional for sure. Yeah. And it would be nice if I would have been able, it would have been nice, or I should say it would be nice knowing what I know now to be able to say, well, some of those people are just, they're decent people as a result of their religion. But you know what? Even Jesus with the parable of the Good Samaritan proves that you don't need religion. You don't need God in order to have a moral life.
Good without God.
So what's with all the mumbo jumbo?
Yeah. No, exactly. Those were good people regardless. They would have been good people because they're good people. Right? Yeah. They didn't need the religion to be good. Yeah.
Exactly.
I agree. Let's move on to another video one. Let me see. I'll put the question up here. Let me get this guy geared up. I don't know if you guys had a chance to look at this one because let's just play it first.
Perceived contradictions in the Bible. Most people who say there's contradictions in the Bible either A, are reading certain translations that weren't translated appropriately, or B, are just saying that because they took two things in there, like let's say Philemon with the slave and Leviticus with its slave parameters, and they're taking those things, they have no context. It shows again how uneducated you truly are on the subject, just trying to throw out something, sling mud and see what sticks.
All right. There's no contradictions in the Bible.
That's an unanswer.
The cognitive dissonance is just out. I
just saw that one today. I'm like, okay, I got to put that on the show tonight because, what? At least acknowledge and explain it away, but to not even acknowledge that there are contradictions in the Bible.
So, wait. So let me get this straight. So people who actually point out that there is actual contradictions in the Bible are uneducated on the context of the Bible because they're looking at different translations of the Bible. Yes.
I can now hear Dan McClellan just rebutting this guy into the ground.
Exactly.
Oh my God. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I laughed so hard my face hurts, guys. I just want to tell you.
That was like, again, I've seen a million people explain away the differences with all kinds of craziness, but I've never seen anyone say they don't exist. I'm like, I have to tell people, here is my King James. I don't have the time to do it, but if you need me to, I can go flip
all you have to do
and read them. This is the one and only version, which means anything in here is correct, at least according to King James in 1600s or whatever, right? So I don't need to read 17 different versions because all the contradictions are in this exact one, the same one that's been held up all my life.
My dude, all you have to do is read Genesis 1 and Genesis 2.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Those are two different creation stories.
Yeah.
Between Genesis 1 and Genesis 2. So the Bible starts out with its own contradictions. First, you have 6 days that the Lord created the world and the universe and everything therein, who rested on the seventh. Why an all-powerful deity needs to rest, I don't know, but okay.
A little break.
And then you go into Genesis 2, which says that, he created man first, and man then was the one who, was that everything creation was made out of, including woman, and who was made out of his rib, but according to the Hebrew, it's his side. So like half a man is a woman. So why do we have problems with trans people? I don't know, but regardless, then and supposedly God made man name everything, and yeah. So I mean, like the contradictions right there. But if we look at if we look at the Old Testament versus the New Testament, and the Old Testament is super bloody.
Mm-hmm.
It is,
yeah.
I thought that Stephen King horror novels were bad. No, honey, just read Judges, okay?
Yeah,
so
yeah.
just read the Old Testament, read Judges. It's like really a horrible book. And so one of the things that we can actually take a look at is when Jesus said that he did not become to destroy the law, but to come to fulfill it.
Mm-hmm.
He was just basically co-signing, even though people say that, oh, the New Testament is like a new covenant. Jesus was more loving and accepting and blah, 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 blah. And, the moon is in the seventh house and let the sun shine in and all this other great stuff, because basically Jesus, right, exactly. And Jupiter aligns with Mars. Basically, Jesus was a hippie. So but the thing is that he is saying in himself that he doesn't have a problem with the 613 laws of Levitical law. He doesn't have a problem with it. He came to fulfill that. He was a prophecy, apparently, that was supposedly predicted in Isaiah. So, we don't get rid of the Old Testament. And even if that's the case, then why would it be part of the canon that is the Bible that Christians are supposed to follow in the first place, right?
Right, yeah. Jesus even says, I am not come to change one, or he says, I have come not to change one jot nor tittle of the law, lest all prophecy be for naught.
Exactly.
Now, I mean, hey, that's directly out of the mouth. And we know that all of that prophecy, a great deal of that prophecy that's printed in there, all those little stories, are completely contradictory. And, when we talk about contradictions in the Bible, I think it's important to acknowledge what some of the most important things in the Bible are. And that would be the birth of Jesus, or I should say creation, right? Genesis 1 and 2. Then we have the birth of Jesus, because it's Jesus who provides the salvation according to the Christians.
Mm-hmm.
Then we have the life of Jesus, and we have the crucifixion and death and resurrection of Jesus. All right. If we only look at the most important parts of the Bible, they don't agree at all. The creation has contradictions. Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John all have different birth stories. They all have different life and death stories. Then none of them align. Absolutely none of them align. Now, Christians talk about the inerrancy of the Bible. In fact, every so often, evangelical Christians would have and have had in the past multiple meetings regarding the inerrancy in the Bible. And they say that the whole of the Bible is inerrant. Now, come on. What kind of cognitive dissonance do you have to go? I mean, that's just bananas. We're not dealing with really well-wired people,
Right, yeah.
it's scary, and that harkens back to that fear that I experienced, when I was going through deconstruction. So yeah, there are no Bible contradictions. No, it's absolutely loaded with them. It's the Christians say that the Bible is inspired by God, and that the Holy Spirit came into mankind and worked through them and helped them write down what they needed to write down. But it's all just
didn't do a very good job at it.
It doesn't make sense. God needs an editor. God's bad at a few things. Editing.
You would
really
think
bad at editing.
that if God
good,
told
he's
you to
really
do something,
terrible.
You'd write it down properly.
Yeah.
And God is also
right
really
now,
terrible.
What? Okay, hold on. Don't say another word. I got it verbatim. I would write that shit down so freaking accurate because it's God.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe God was just babbling all the time, like Jesus Christ. I'll get to him later.
I mean, I would love Carlos to go, and then I have a story that will wrap this all up in a tiny bow. But go ahead.
So, I mentioned Dan McClellan earlier. He's a scholar of the Hebrew Bible and just an amazing. Yeah, he's just
great show.
Yeah, he's got a great channel. He has like people like these jokers that we've been featuring here. And one of the things that, one of the words that, and one of the concepts that he introduced me to was univocality. See, Christians, especially the ones who, the evangelicals, the fundies and all that, all take it as just like fact, just like, that the Bible is univocal. They don't dispute the univocality of the Bible because it all comes from God. The Lord. Oh, Lord. Hi, Reverend Brett. Anyway, so Reverend Brett Lordy is a friend of mine. He's a Unitarian minister and just a great guy all around. Very, we've had many spiritual conversations, and so shout out to Reverend Brett Lordy if he ever gets wind of this video. So I played music with him. Just love this guy. Anyway, so the univocality, basically the reason why the Bible contradicts itself is because it is not univocal. There are multiple authors, and it is a piece of literature, not a guide to live your life.
Yeah.
Or it's not really supposed to be. It wasn't really meant to be a like this thing. I mean, I'm sorry, the Torah. The Jews. They put the Torah in a very honored place, but unfortunately that Torah is also extremely not univocal at all, multivocal. And, that's exactly, pretty much what I wanted to say. Like the reason why it's got so many contradictions is because there are multiple authors, and there were pieces of scrolls that had been
together and summarized and chunked here and there.
Somebody would have gone through though at some point if they really wanted this to be the most important thing, and they would have straightened all that out. I mean,
I mean, the monks, when they were trying to translate it, I guess tried when they were writing,
but they did a horrible job.
They did. I don't disagree with that statement. Not at all.
Go ahead and give us is that your last one, Cynthia?
No. This is my story. Okay, so Mike, remember Mike 1. Remember when I told you that story about my 7th and 8th grade teacher unfriending me on Facebook, right? Yeah. Okay. So, guys, he's a huge Catholic, almost became a priest, but, he decided to teach instead. Right. So I remember like when we were in the 7th grade, he said that he had the gift of necromancy. And specifically he had one gift where he could write inspired things from spirit, according to him. According to him, right? So I guess like he would open himself up to the other world, and then write all these other things that like the spirits were telling him to write, and then like after he was done, he would read it back, and then according to him. And
Wow.
and I remember, he told us if we were good grade 7th graders after our picture day, that we could spend the rest of the time, instead of going through our lessons, we could, do like a seance. And everybody was like so excited, right?
Catholic, you said?
Yes.
Really?
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. Absolutely.
That's crazy.
Absolutely. If I'm lying, I'm dying. Listen, I will find other students from my old Catholic grammar school to corroborate this. Okay. And so, so like he did he had his rosary in one hand and a cross in another, and said some words. And I think he said some stuff in Latin.
Yeah.
Maybe. And then, he was saying who was there, and we could ask questions and all this other stuff. It was wild. Right. And like later on in life, when I was like listening to like, certain Bible scholars giving like, lectures about the translations of scripture and how we don't have any original scriptures.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of these, scriptures that we have right now are a copy of 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 a copy.
Yeah.
And if you and I can even think of when I was a student in university, and how I used to handwrite my papers first before I typed them.
Mm-hmm.
Just in case my floppy disk did some bullshit,
Yeah.
and I could not pull my paper back up, I had a hard copy of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I will remember, copying my own paper that I wrote.
You thought of, right? I know where you're going.
That I thought of, that is of my own mind and my own research.
Yes.
And I would skip shit. I would skip sentences,
Constantly.
paragraphs, constantly, right? Have to go back like, oh, I forgot to put this part. I forgot to put that part in, right? So if you can just imagine, these are people from back in the day without any technology whatsoever that's putting a copy of a copy of a copy of a copy together. And, you would have chapters missing, paragraphs missing, pages missing. Sometimes they knew it and decided to put in their own thought about how things supposed to go, right? And this is what, and this is supposedly the word inspired by God, right? So,
exact word.
Right. So like, so I was always just thinking to myself, I was like, well, if they had my 7th grade teacher's gift of the pen, maybe they would have got it right, right?
Right.
Like it's like start writing,
I love that.
like completely like inspired by some other realm, spirits to tell what thus saith the Lord. I think it would have been a better system, but I would always say, like, even when I was having like conversations with Christians about the Bible and different translations and things of that nature.
Mm-hmm.
And I would say, like, okay, if God is such a perfect God and he wants all of us to know who he is, what his word says, what his laws are, yes, et cetera, why do we have to go to a book?
Yeah. Right.
Why can't
yourself.
God have just like downloaded all that information into our brains?
Like on Matrix. Just
right, just like plug in like in the back of your head, and then all of a sudden like Neo's like, I know kung fu.
Like kung fu, yeah.
Like which
fly a helicopter.
My goodness, can you just imagine like if somebody just like plugs something in your head and then all of a sudden kung fu? That would be so dope.
Yeah, it's the most unreliable way to learn about the Lord is by just a bunch of guys writing shit down half-assed about it.
Yeah, exactly. Can you just imagine like how long
supposed to guide my life? This is the best you could come up with.
Right. They got like they're sitting up at their like, secretaries, like, like at all hours of the night, only by candlelight, sleepy as hell, whatnot. They had no type of like a semblance of coffee until they came to the new world. So how did they even stay awake? I mean,
coffee,
I'm just saying there was no coffee at that time.
Maybe they had tea. I don't know.
They did have coffee in that little area, like in the around Ethiopia and such. Some of the first Christians were Ethiopians, and they found coffee pretty well. Like, wow, I don't know if they were drinking it.
No, like in the whole of like in the whole of Africa, because they grew coffee. But I mean, but even like the Coptic Bible was not necessarily something that was like privy to Christians that, you know, which a lot of us actually were basically Christians from a European standpoint, not from like, you know, the Coptic region. So we weren't privy to that. And, you know, they probably were. If I were to think of any, you know, portion of Christianity that would have been more accurate to like the old scriptures, it would most likely be them. And especially they would have been more accurate because they had coffee.
Right. Exactly.
I was just thinking it was the Kopi Luwak. Do you remember that coffee?
Kopi Luwak, yeah, coming out of the civet butt. I just had Ethiopian. I just had Indonesian food. They didn't offer Kopi Luwak though.
They didn't. Oh, well, you missed out.
Well, I've had Kopi Luwak. It was nothing to write home about.
I never had that. Where can I get it? Can I get it in Chicago? Is it around?
I'm sure it's pretty expensive.
Oh.
It's an Asian cat has to eat the coffee cherries, which is the fruit, and then after they defecate, they dig through that, and then they take this things out and they turn it into coffie, because that seems like an obvious thing to do.
No, thank you. I'll stick with original blend from Dunkin'. I'm good.
Yeah. Dunkin'. All right. We got Dunkin's on the board. Okay. All right. Let's move on. Let's see. Now, this is actually here's a good question too. Another serious question, because this actually comes up. And I have my own example of this. Have you ever had a Christian stop talking to you once they found out you're atheist? And I'm going to go with, a friend, not just some casual person, but a friend, family member, anything of that nature. And I will give you my example real quick. I had MJ, what is he? He's my brother's brother-in-law, whatever that makes him to me. But his brother's brother-in-law. I've known this kid literally. My brother started dating his wife when they were teenagers, and this is her younger brother. So I've known him 40 years. I don't know. I mean, a long time, probably, give or take. And a handful of years ago, we had a discussion online, not the easiest discussion because it was politics and everything. But he found out I was an atheist, and he literally sent me a message. It's like, atheist, no wonder. Click. Never heard from him again. I had known him at that point 35 years. I mean, he's a family. We've been to all the same things. We've all gone to the beach together when we were teenagers and growing up. Haven't talked to him, heard from him, seen him in 7 or 8 years, whatever it was now. I was like, dude, I mean, we disagree vehemently, so we may not have gotten along in terms of politics, but it was like, but atheism, that's the thing? And also I was like, you didn't realize it? It's not like I was hiding it. So how did you not realize that? But he was just gone because he's a super Christian and I'm obviously not. I have a step member of my family, same way. Haven't talked to him in years because atheism. It's weird, but what about you guys? Anybody go through that similar experience?
The short of mine is like most of the people that I went to like Fundy Church with, they don't really deal with me.
Yeah.
So, but
that's good.
I don't feel bad. Like I'm really okay with that. Like, I personally don't like to like associate myself with like, people who are like super deep into the trenches of evangelical Christianity.
Mm-hmm.
They happen
I get worried about those people.
Yeah.
I have to stay away from it.
Yeah. Because I was one and I know how judgmental they can be. And and because of that, I don't want to be bothered. So I'm good on this side.
Yeah. It can be tough. It bugged me that he was out only because he bugged me because of all the things. It's like, dude, we've known each other for this long. We've been to every child's birthday party, that normal stuff that all families do, right?
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, this is the thing. But to me, it was more like, I mean, yeah, you're kind of an asshole about it, but at the same time, it's like, this is the problem. This is exactly if that is a bridge too far, because I don't believe in what you believe, and it's enough for you to say any little. I used to post this every once in a while, like every year or two. It's like, oh, this is exactly why I got dropped by this guy because of this. That's toxic. If you say I can't be close to you, around you, whatever, interact with you whatsoever because you don't believe what I believe. Which one of us has the problem here? I'm the one going to go to hell, according to you, and let me go. But you can't be associated with me. Is it going to rub off on you? Where's the problem here?
Mike, you have a virus called the non-God virus, and it could infect him and cause him to be dirty in the eyes of Jesus.
Will the critical thinking wear off? Is that what happens?
There is no critical thinking. Possibly. Who knows?
Yeah.
You're dirty. You're dirty, Mike. You're dirty, and you can't be. And you're forsooth for shame, and he can't be around you because of reasons.
Apparently, that is it. Yeah. Yeah, it was insane.
Isn't it strange the things that we have to experience just because we don't want to play with those toys that other people want to play with?
Right.
Yeah.
We end up catching hell because we don't believe in an imaginary friend. What is that?
What? Yeah.
I mean, I don't believe in Zeus, and I'm quite sure that my Christian people, or the Christians I know, they don't believe in Zeus either. Does anybody give them hell for that? You know?
No. Yeah.
It's crazy.
Ooh, blueberry muffins. That is such a good.
Swati, that's a good question.
Yeah.
So Swati is a person we know here in town, in Chicago. And I won't, because I don't want Swati to have any issues, but Muslim, came from a Muslim country originally, you know? And yeah, I don't know, man. Another person, we had a beach thing last month or two, whatever it was. I was talking to another person who also came from a Muslim country, and it was very interesting because I don't know that many Muslims, to have long conversations. It was interesting to get the take on leaving that environment and coming here. You know, I hesitate to say which one is more extreme in one sense or the other in terms of where these people live. There are certainly parts of the world where Muslims are super extreme, obviously, you know, but it is interesting. I don't know which is worse.
Yeah,
I know. Being a Muslim in the United States, because a lot of Muslims are non-white.
Well, it's a given right there. Boom, you're out. Yeah.
Yeah. And you don't dress the way that a lot of Western people do, especially if you're like a particularly observant Muslim. The men are going to be wearing the knit cap, not sure what it's called, and their women are going to be hijabi.
Yeah, and a lot of that really just depends on, you know, what school of thought of, like, you know, Islam that they follow.
Right.
You know, and especially like depending like if they're more fundamentalist or not, you know.
Right.
And I mean, I just think of like there's a whole sect of like, you know, African Americans, you know, that follow like, you know, Islam edict, you know, with the Nation of Islam. And then you have the 5%ers, and then you have like different like sects with that, or even like, you know, the Moorish temples. America, they happen to be Muslim too, and you know, but like I think that they have like a bit of a more Western viewpoint when it comes to Islam versus like, you know, if you're looking at Sunni or Shia, you know, from predominantly Islamic countries coming to the United States. But
I love that variety show when I was growing up, Sunni and Shia.
Yeah. Oh, the right. Oh God.
I got you.
Oh, but
terrible joke.
Oh my God.
Because we all know what that was.
All right, so bad.
It's annoying because I didn't think about it. I'm like, damn it, that was actually pretty clever.
Yeah, I was like, oh God.
Right. But the beat goes on.
Yeah, but the beat goes on.
Hey, I got it on.
Yeah, I mean, but I think that like especially after 9/11, like we know how like Islam, you know, Islamic people were treated here in the United States.
Yeah,
And I mean, like, I know, like, a lot of us, like, here, you know, who happen to be atheists, like, we don't, like, you know, really go out with, like, a big old sign on the top of our heads. Guess what, people? I'm atheist, right? You know, treat me accordingly. You know, we just kind of, like, you know, blend in with our environment, you know, because I think that we kind of just, like, culturally fall into whatever, like, you know, portion of American that we happen to be in, right?
Yeah, whatever section we're already in, yeah.
Yeah. And, you know, I know that like all of us would like, you know, because we're all from the Midwest, they're like, you know, what's up with those accents? I'm like, what accent? I don't know what you're talking about. You know, I mean, but like, yeah, so that's basically like how we would like fall into line. I mean, like a lot of, you know, people wouldn't know that we weren't Christian unless we said something or they asked. But, you know, a lot of times, like, and especially if, a person who happens to be, Muslim, would also decide to wear traditional garb that happens to go along with their particular school of thought,
Mhm.
of Islam, right?
Yeah.
And then
Stand out.
from that, they get profiled.
For sure.
Mhm.
Yeah. Yeah. All right, I'm gonna move on real quick. And just real quick for those of you at home, if you like this sort of content, do me a favor, like and subscribe to the show. We try to be very open and honest and transparent. I think you're gonna get the impression here, as you see, we're just telling it like it is, and it really does help the channel kind of grow, and it gets more people aware of it. As we talked about the algorithms earlier, even if you hate us, that's fine. But it does. We
Like us or hate us,
appreciate it.
you're
It really
watching us.
does help, and we do try to be as respectful. We might poke some fun at you, but we appreciate taking time and to comment. So if you could do that, and we do, as you see here, we don't always. I can't really get to every single question, but I try to post them even if we don't address them. And that goes true on other videos you watch. If you make a comment on one of the videos, I will always go in there and say something. And if it's, say, one of the four of us, it's about, say, Mike had said something, I will let Mike know, hey, someone made a comment about something you said on a video, and he'll go in there and comment, and Cynthia will, or Carlos will.
Yep.
So
You'll see me in there all the time.
Yeah,
there's
he
a
shows
question-
up all the time.
There's
So-
a question I want to answer it's more related to someone, it was when we were talking about Kopi Luwak, the civet coffee.
Uh-huh.
It's supposed to taste really smooth and have just like a really just very smooth flavor. That's what it's supposed to taste
Really?
like. Yeah, there's a
I'm gonna take
transformation
your
that
word for
happens,
that.
whatever. But I don't think I drank the real Kopi Luwak when I tried it. It was just like, it just tasted like bad coffee.
It was just
Again, no, thank you.
the Dunkin' version of
Yeah,
Kopi
this was
Luwak.
this is the civet poop coffee. that I'm
Yeah,
talking about.
it's actually made by the
Supposed to
workers.
taste
When
really,
the workers
really, like,
defecated to the coffee.
amazing. Supposedly.
Yeah. How's that different? How's it different?
Worth cleaning the poop off of, But
Oh my God. What's the next question? What's the next
Yeah.
that's the
question?
only question. That's it.
Let's see. Let's see, actually, got a video to show. This is actually going to be for Cynthia and Mike from two different perspectives. But hold on a second here. Two different perspectives. She's kind of address Mike a little bit more towards you, but sexuality in general, we're going to kind of couch it. But here we go.
Here to give you my opinion. I'm here because I want to tell you what God says. Now, in the Bible, sexuality is talked about in the context of God's design for marriage between a man and a woman, as seen in Genesis 2:24 and reaffirmed by Jesus in Matthew 19. The New Testament also addresses sexual sin in Romans 1 and 1 Corinthians 6. The Bible is super clear in Romans 1 and 1 Corinthians 6 that same sexual relationships fall out of his design. It's also clear that all sexual sin is idolatry, pornography, lust. It all falls outside of his will. The standard is the same for everybody. Now, this isn't about God trying to take away your joy. It's about him protecting us, giving us a love that is pure, committed, and covenantal. Sin, any sin, separates us from God. But through Jesus, grace covers sin. Chains are broken and new life begins. So if you ever felt like you don't belong in God's family, you do. But his love will always call us to change because he wants what's best for us.
Okay, Dad.
There you go. So we just got lectured by a 20-year-old on sexuality.
I love this.
Yeah, I
I
thought you
love
were.
this
I
because
thought you were.
Tearing herself up inside.
Yeah, she was spitting out all
She
kinds. Like, I don't have
speaks-
time to look it all up, but yeah. But I thought both of
She
you,
speaks-
again, from two different perspectives, you would have some comments on this.
yeah, she speaks so eloquently. This is a
Yeah, it's lovely.
this is
but-
a perfect
Off.
example of how deep the delusion can get. This is a perfect example, and I think it should be used as like I said, as a perfect example. You know, throw the question up again, Mike.
Yep.
that-
Hold on a second.
For us, so
Her
that we
original
can
question.
drill into it a little bit.
I just had a sexual and sin. You
Yeah.
mean throw the video or just that?
Oh, well, that's fine. That's
Okay.
great right there. So sexuality and sin, isn't it great how a group of celibate men
Right.
who decided that they're going to write down rules about what we can and cannot do. It's really weird, isn't it?
Yeah.
In fact, we can even go even farther. We could even say a bunch of celibate men in dresses.
Asexual men.
And funny hats because they actually have funny hats and the dresses. I mean, come on.
True.
A bunch of celibate dudes telling us what we can and cannot do. Now, I
Right.
mean, that's the Catholic Church for you right there. You know, they're the first Christians, you know, or I should say that the first major Christian group.
Yeah.
So, man. And to it like I said, with sin, as an atheist, here's what's sin. If I had to find something that's sinful, it would be something that breaks the norms and mores of whatever society you are part of. You know, look those words up: norms and mores. So, as far as what they think of, what Christians think of as sin, well, holy cow, there's thought crimes, there's all kinds of wild shit that they've got going on. And I don't know. It's Cynthia, go ahead and take it away.
I just always wondered, like, especially being on this side of, the whole spectrum of religion, why does God care so much about what happens in people's bedrooms?
Why? That's
of all the
weird.
That is so weird. I mean,
is so weird.
So
I have an idea
weird.
about why it happens, and I'll elaborate after you're done. But just remind me.
No worries. I will, because what I'm just about to say, I promise I'm not going to ramble. But my whole thing about this conversation concerning sin when it comes to same-sex copulation and same-sex partnerships, and even when we're having conversations about gender identity and gender conformity or non-conformity, we see the same things happen in other species that's on the earth. I mean, there's like homosexuality in just about every mammal species you could think of. And even like in not even just mammals and other species as well. I mean, like you've seen homosexuality practice in penguins. Hey, I saw dogs get it on, who were the same sex. I mean, like, and I would just spray them with water because I didn't want them to be doing stuff on my lawn in front of people. Like, would you get off my lawn?
Right.
Go get a room. Right.
Sin
I mean,
dog.
no, like you sin dog. You're going to hell, like Fido, like,
all dogs go to hell. I saw that movie.
Right. I saw that movie too. I mean, so my whole question is like, okay, 20-year-old person that all of a sudden, is trying to get their acquire the fire badge going. Why if homosexuality was such a sin, and I know that like the way that she was coming out, she was trying to be so compassionate and so this is Jesus cares about your immortal soul, and that's the reason why he's talking about it, and he doesn't want you to burn in the lake of fire.
Right. She's doing us a favor, quite frankly.
Oh,
We'll
right, exactly. Right, exactly. Well, thank you. No,
thank
but
you, Tiffany.
Thanks, Tiff. Thanks, Jen.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I mean, like, why again? Why would we see these inceptions of homosexuality in other species that's on the earth? So you're telling me that, okay, if that's the case, then God is going to damn penguins, God is going to damn dogs, God is going to damn turtles, God is going to damn heaven forbid, right? Spiders,
fish that Eslaw just mentioned.
Yeah.
Right on, Eslaw.
I mean, like all these things, like God is going to damn fish. Like, really, fish, whales, dolphins. He's
God's
going to damn
on
all
Mount
these
Everest
things
and then damn them.
Right? He put them on Mount exactly. I mean, like, come on now. I mean, like, and this is where like the critical thinking and skepticism is like completely lost when people are so deep into these, into these thought patterns, because they said, well, my pastor said, and he gave this an example in Matthew and in Romans, and then there's the examples that's in the Old Testament. So Avi, right? But I'm just like, but nature doesn't reflect that.
Right.
Nature does not reflect that.
That's
So so if that is the case, and then all of a sudden, the Bible, if we're talking about this 6,000-year-old span. Yeah, this 6,000 years span of scriptures, and they were talking about homosexuality then. Avi, that homosexuality has always been a thing. It's been with humans all this time, even before you wrote all this stuff down. Why is it such a bad thing? So now all of a sudden it's bad because God said, really? He didn't say that in the Vedas. He didn't say that in the sutras. He didn't say that in any of the other, holy texts from other religions that actually predate Christianity.
Yeah, it is actually.
So why is it?
I don't know enough about those other ones, but you're right. I don't hear that from the other ones, but maybe they say. I'll give them benefit of the doubt, but I don't know. But you're right. It's well, and again, we live here in a country.
They don't. But that's the thing. They don't.
Yeah.
They don't. Yeah. They don't. They don't. Yeah, they don't. I mean, I never read the Quran, and I know that the Quran is, it takes some of its thoughts, from the Talmud and also the Pentateuch. So and it also says that you're supposed to give obedience to those particular books as well, because reasons. So and they have, and it's kind of interesting, they're homophobia is prevalent in Islam, yet it's also prevalently practiced.
The Dancing Boys of Afghanistan. Watch that.
Right. No, I know what it is. I couldn't watch it.
Yeah. It exists. It exists.
Yeah. Oh, I know. It's
in
so
Judaism, in Judaism, back in the day, it was you could get in a lot of trouble if you were a man and you were not married. And Blueberry Muffins brings up something really important. When you have a bunch of tribes all running around, you need to have the most power. You need the manpower is what it is. You need
labor.
You need labor. And if you didn't do that, then you're falling out of God's good graces, and the tribe suffers. And then people start doing this thing as well. They start getting rid of the idea that that women have control and autonomy over their own bodies. So that's what they do. It's so sickening, and we see that again and again and again. It's handed down through time that bodily autonomy for women is not a thing. And that always goes hand in hand with religion.
Yeah.
So, it's really interesting if you look at, and we have some really excellent examples, especially on the African continent, of when women are given control, or when they're given complete agency over their sexuality and their reproductive rights. When they have agency over those things, the standard of living, the per capita, everything increases. The general whole of that society is better off. And you know what they also have at that point? Then automatically we see an association with homosexuality being accepted. And what happens? The men at the very pinnacle, all of a sudden, are being replaced by women. We have women prime ministers. We have women tribal leaders. We have all of that stuff. So, I mean, come on. It's all about control. It's all about control.
Definitely.
Yeah. I definitely agree.
Period.
Yeah. Period. I got one more rant. Like I listen, like guys, I'm sorry, but I listen to like some political podcasts, and like I just think about like all these latest inceptions of people who happen to be elected officials who are caught in like scandals because they're like on the down low.
Yeah.
I mean like and all this other stuff, and like and I remember watching the I Had It podcast where they were basically saying that like a lot of these terrible policies are just coming out because like these men are not allowing themselves to be who they really are. I even just thought about it. I remember when Mike Johnson became the Speaker of the House, and I was on another podcast where we were doing.
Oh, I got ideas about him.
Oh gosh. Oh God.
Yeah,
honey,
I hear that. It's
honey,
a thing.
It's deep. Okay.
Yeah.
I mean, like
why does Grindr crash every time there's a Republican convention?
Right. Grindr cracked during the RNC. Grindr crashed during Charlie Kirk. Grindr crash every time the GOP leadership gets together. Grindr is crashing.
Right.
Amen.
But in normal life, I'd be like, who cares, right? It doesn't matter. It's just the self-righteousness of like how wrong that is, and yet here they are.
It's the self-righteousness.
I'm always in that weird position of like I'm defending it, but it's the hypocrisy that pisses me off. So
right.
Yeah, the hypocrisy pisses me off, but I have to say, hey, let your freak flag fly.
Listen, no kink shaming here, honey.
I'm glad that they're doing it, but holy shit, don't force me.
No king shaming here. You do you, whatever, hey, New Edition back in the day had a song called Get Me Off. Do that. Maybe you would be less angry.
New Edition.
Yes, I went back. Okay. I am a child of the 80s. Okay.
Yeah. I remember New Edition. Mr. Telephone Man.
Yeah. Candy guy.
Yeah, okay, good.
All that. Yeah, that was my joint. Quit playing.
All right. I have to get you another one here. So this is actually another good question, I thought. And we're seeing this a lot right now. So Jesus cared for the marginalized. Why don't his followers? Is this
jealousy?
New? And is it new in the sense we are all seeing it constantly right now? It's constantly by this right-wing sort of Christian nationalist, which is a whole different topic. But the cruelty that we're seeing, has it always been that way? Is it just more prevalent because of this current environment? Is it just ebb and flow? But as the marginalization and that cruelty towards the marginalized, it's so far from the supposed teachings of love thy neighbor and welcome the immigrant and feed the hungry, all that stuff that supposedly Jesus says, and we should supposedly believe, yet it seems to be opposite of what's being shown by people who say that they are biblical.
Smith Gall, do you know why there are two separate Baptist conventions?
Oh, no. The Southern Baptist and what's the other one? Southern Baptist and First Baptist, right? Is that the two?
Or just Baptist?
Oh, just in general. Okay, no.
Yeah,
there's one because it's black and versus white.
No,
Missionary Baptist.
What is it?
No, the reason why that there even is a Southern Baptist convention is because a lot of the leadership in the Baptist convention before they split off were politicians and slave owners. And you had more people within the Baptist convention that were becoming abolitionists. And they would fight a lot when it came to the possibility of, the abolition of slavery, because they were starting to become more and more loud. So, and I want to say either in 1854 or 1855, the Southern Baptist Convention, at the behest of leaders who happened to be pastors and also elected officials and very powerful people within the South, broke off. So there's always, and I mean, and like some of the people who were the most outspoken when it even came to the Jim Crow South during the Civil Rights Movement were pastors from the Southern Baptist Convention. So this whole thing about the followers of Jesus versus their practices being so so adverse to marginalized communities is not a new thing. It's basically been with
So,
us.
yeah, so it's not new. Okay.
No, it's not.
They've been using it forever to
Mhm.
marginalize
Mhm.
and defend it, which I guess we should be
Remember,
obvious. Yeah, we think of civil rights.
cutting off power.
Yeah. The
So-
Bible's clearly been held up to marginalize people and used as the excuse. You and I talked about that when you and I had our one-on-one, like, you know.
Structure power.
Yeah.
I want
Yeah.
to say one thing about
Yeah, man.
about this about the idea of like why they consider themselves Christian. Christian to them is pretty much just a dog whistle for European, aka white.
Yes. The Christian nationalism
Right.
that's going rampant, that I would say is rampant.
Right.
Yeah. Absolutely.
Right. No,
It's-
Carlos, you're right. Back in before there was even the term white and black, you know, what was considered a civilized gentleman was a Christian English landowner man.
Right. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah. Now the Christian, we're going to talk about Christian nationalism. I got another question on that later, but that's a very concerning trend, if that's the right word, but it's a movement, whatever you want to call it. But yeah, it's concerning. Speaking of, this is completely accidental the way it turned out. Speaking of Christian nationalism, Charlie Kirk. But I thought this is interesting. It's really not about Charlie Kirk, so calm down, anybody out there that's freaking out because I just said the word Charlie Kirk and didn't pray. You know, I mean, this was our sign of the cross.
Listen, let me tell you something. But before you go into that, Mike, you know, if you say his names 3 times, he will appear.
Uh-oh, like Beetlejuice. All right, well,
or Candyman.
Or Candyman.
He's the new Candyman.
Yeah.
Or like Bloody Mary.
Yeah. Well,
Mhm.
but I thought there was an interesting point.
Bloody
that
Mary.
This Charlie Kirk worship, I'm reading the question. Charlie Kirk worship has made me realize how quickly someone's memory can be altered by a sudden, perceived anyway, tragedy, and how we never know who the real or what the real Jesus was. And I thought that's actually a really good point, because we saw in real time within weeks the deification of Charlie Kirk, and now his wife is now equally. This guy, and we did a whole show on this. We won't go over that whole ground. Not exactly what he's being portrayed as, that I would say, my opinion, but that's within a month. I mean, it was September 10th, I think, is when he was killed. This is not even a month. Today's the 5th of October. Right. In that month, his image and what we supposedly think about him has been so changed. What would happen in 1,000 years, you know, or 2,000 years when we compare this back to a Jesus type of thing? Can we trust anything that someone says happened 2,000 years ago to a person that supposedly Yahweh or whatever Jesus was named as he was wandering around? How do we attribute anything with any factual knowledge whatsoever?
And we don't.
And
we don't
no
even
one had any ability to write shit down because they didn't speak anything. They were illiterate.
Right.
We can't get our story straight from a month ago.
Exactly.
I thought that was really a good point this person made.
No, and it's a great point, because, you know, it was within a day that all of a sudden revisionist history on Charlie Kirk started to float around, you know, and people like turning this person into a saint, and he was none of that. I remember getting beat up by other, you know, atheists. Well, it was only one. When I put up but they were like, you know, right leaning. When I put up that I don't condone violence, but, you know, can we please not forget who Charlie Kirk was?
Right.
He was a misogynist. He was racist.
To the actual words that the man said.
Right. You know, like, and he was a gun nut. I mean, like, he was all these things. I mean, and I mean, like, how are we just going to all of a sudden and when I said I don't condone violence, but, you know, he kind of, you know, it was kind of a self-fulfilling prophecy what happened to him.
He sort of did. Yeah.
And I mean, like, and you know, all of a sudden, like, yes, you do condone the left violence and all this. That's like, no, I don't.
No, he simply ended up becoming the statistic that he said
was acceptable.
Should be an acceptable statistic for us to have to swallow. There will be some people who die, and that's just acceptable as long as we can keep our First and Second Amendment rights. He said he thought that was an acceptable way to operate or to think. And hey, he's a martyr now. So hey, at least he had the opportunity to be the statistic that he said was a good statistic. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah.
I'm not saying it was great that somebody pulled that savage stunt.
No, and we've made that point, and let's just make it clear again.
It doesn't serve the anti-Charlie Kirk to have done that. But one of the things when it happened, I immediately paraphrased our Malcolm X. The chicken's coming home to roost.
Yep.
Yeah, and again, I'm just going to make it very clear, Carlos. Hold on a second. I just want to make it very clear because they're going to get like freaking people out. They're going to wow, you guys are this, or we're all going to get canceled because people misconstrue. None of us are condoning violence in any way, shape, or form.
Let's
be very clear. It is absolutely wrong. And really, as a pragmatic point of view, does not serve the purpose. I've said this about a lot of things, even things that I would like, when people say we're going to burn the flag, like good luck with that, because you're going to do the opposite of what you think is going to happen. You're going to get a lot of attention. Right. No one's going to hear a word you have to say because they're going to see the flag burning and the symbolism that goes with it. They're going to ignore your point. So from a pragmatic point of view, it's a waste of time. Shooting someone obviously is a million times worse, but it's the same thing. You're not making any point because all they're going to remember, this poor guy was shot. It should not have been. And we see a month later, he's now, as Eslaw says here, he's portrayed as a hero there in Arizona and across the United States because of this violence. You would have been way better off just letting him talk himself into a corner and then being forgotten about, because that's what eventually would have happened.
Right.
But you made it worse.
Yeah, I want to bring something up. I have a friend who was, I may have mentioned him, and I won't, of course, I'm not going to name names or anything like that, obviously, but this guy, he came from the same guy who came from an evangelical family. Through social media, he said good riddance. And then one of his sister's friends did some digging on, pretty much snitched him out. Went to the socials and ratted him out to his workplace. Now he's got a final warning. He was suspended for a week for saying good riddance.
So we don't say these things.
Yeah, this is the environment that we now exist under. Someone who says good riddance to someone from the left, they're probably not going to get come down on nearly as much.
No, because none of them were damning the person who killed Melissa Hortman and her husband. No one was condemning. Yeah, the Minnesota lawmaker. I mean, no one was even condemning the from the right the guy who beat up Nancy Pelosi's husband. And I mean, listen,
they were making jokes about it. Trump made jokes about it. Trump Jr. made jokes about it.
Exactly.
His costume was going to be the hammer and the underwear.
Right. And that's not okay. I mean, where have we gotten so far down this rabbit hole that we condone political violence?
Where's our humanity, if that's the thing?
Where is it? Right. I mean, if we have differences of opinion when it comes to policy, those things should be debated in the halls of Congress. Before
we should be talking about things like we talk about them now.
Right.
Actually like Charlie Kirk was doing, although he was super inflammatory, he was going out and he was talking about it. He decided that was one of the things that he was going to do. Whether he was decent about it or not, that's neither here nor there. He was talking. He wasn't that's what we have to do. I want to drill into something that Larry Warren has said. He says that his myth may be remembered for a while, his actual words will not. I think that if we go back to the question that was before this, I think that's another example of how with Jesus, the character of Jesus, his myth is remembered if the person Jesus even existed. But the actual words will not. Although we do have a whole bunch of different things that claim to be the writings or the statements of that individual, it's the myth takes hold. When people are moved, the myth takes hold. And that's what we're seeing.
Right. There's a website, charliequotes.com.
Yeah, they're there.
They're
And
bad
like,
ones, though, right? It's not
yeah,
like
yeah.
good
And
ones,
I mean,
yeah.
like, listen, the internet is forever, honey. If you just go
Mhm.
back into like a lot of the different things that he said on his podcast, you will see it,
It's not
and
good.
it's
Yeah.
not at
Yeah.
all,
It's interesting, isn't it, how the group that does the most cherry picking with the scripture, with the Bible, they're doing the exact same thing here again. It's
Yep.
I mean it's a carbon copy.
Right.
Take
Mhm.
what
We're
they
just seeing it in
want,
real time.
they leave the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I prefer to live in the real world where all of it is taken as a whole, and I have a personal experience with that. And so does Cynthia, and so does Carlos, and so does
Mhm.
Mike, Larry, Eslaw, Ralph, everybody. We
Mhm.
all have a personal experience with the world. And when we acknowledge that we're all in this together
Yeah.
and we're not different, man, we're going to be in such a much better place. Much better.
I need the Federation. I don't know about you guys, but I need the Federations to come on right now. Live long and prosper,
Federation.
health and long life. We need that right now.
The starting point. We should,
I can get on board with
United
that. I can
Popular
get on
Front.
board with that.
Why not? Yeah.
Seriously.
Live long and prosper.
Could be worse. Yeah. All right.
That
Let's
was derived from
see.
a blessing of the rabbis as people left the synagogue.
Exactly. Right. Yes. Yes. All
gonna-
praises to Leonard Nimoy. May he live forever
Exactly.
in our
Color of Yiddish
thoughts.
folktales. And generally,
I'm
all
going to
around
put
the
up a. So we actually started something new. For those of you that want to call in, we can't do that live yet. There's some things that well, you can Antangelo, whatever the guy's name. That's why we don't do live ones yet, because I need like a 7-second delay, because you never know what kind of craziness is going to be said. But if you ever want to call in and leave a message that we will put on our next show, for example, we started the Heathen Hotline that you can do that. And that's 224-307-5435. And I will monitor that line, and you can leave a message and get your point out there. And then we'll try to get that in on the next show. This just gives you a way to sort of get your voice out there, because I know sometimes like, I can only type out so much to say something. So let's go ahead and switch to one of those now. And
I saw y'all show on YouTube, and y'all are atheists, and I wanted to know, why don't you believe in God, and what would make you believe in God? Like, what would you look for to believe in a God?
First off,
thank you.
His accent is absolutely glorious. Glorious.
Love it.
I love it.
I love the question too.
Yeah.
It's a legitimate question. We get asked that all the time. And I always say, I don't have a specific thing, but a God that knows everything about me should know exactly what would be required from me. You know what I mean? I don't know.
That God would manifest to me and would without a question, or would manifest to everyone simultaneously, and make there be no doubt in my mind. Like, here's a thought. Just all of a sudden, we all get transported around the orbit of Pluto. We get to take a look at it for a little while, but the vacuum of space doesn't affect us, this, that, and the other thing. And then we all get to see ourselves zoom back in. I mean, that should be easy. That
pretty
should
good.
be
For
super
God.
easy.
Yeah.
For God,
no challenge whatsoever.
For God, it will be.
And the reason I don't believe is because for every single thing, like we were talking about earlier, every single thing that we experience in this life, there's an actual explanation for it. Whether or not we have found it, it remains to be seen. But I can say for certain that history has shown that as we move along, we always push the veil back farther and farther and farther. The veil of our understanding, when it comes to an end, it's always getting pushed back farther and farther. So there's no evidence of Vishnu. There's no evidence of Allah, of Jesus Christ, of
Zeus,
any of
Odin.
this. Ra. The teacup floating at the bottom of the garden.
There is
like
a
Richard
Ra,
Dawkins says.
and he is my son, but not.
Totally different Ra.
There you go.
Way less magical.
So, yeah.
Yeah, I
Larry
agree.
Warren, I think Larry Warren just said it really well. A demonstration of its existence that does not rely upon faith. Show us the evidence. We want to see the evidence.
All it is. It's so
That's
simple.
all.
And if God appears and shows me the evidence, him and I are going to have words. We are going to have words.
Yeah.
He better have a lot. It's got a lot of explaining to do.
Like,
A
Lord,
lot of explaining to do.
I put Elie Wiesel as my proxy here.
Yeah.
If,
I
ever
would be
met
like,
God, he would have to
Yahweh,
beg
you
my
got
forgiveness.
some splaining to do.
You do.
Okay.
Yeah. Right.
Now, I think the other thing is if there was a God and he did suddenly or it suddenly appeared, or as Ellen
don't know
DeGeneres
God's
say, you know, a
pronouns.
beautiful black woman, because that's who she
Yeah.
thought God would
Yes.
be. Yeah, exactly. I like Cynthia. But I think that if there was a God that actually appeared, you'd have billions of really confused people because it would be nothing like any of the gods that they imagined it would be. The Muslims and the
Right.
Jews and the Hindus and the Buddhists or whatever you think it is, you just know it would not be like any of them to be freaking out. You're like, oh my God,
Right.
you actually have real
Period.
evidence of a God. And
Period.
turns out I was wrong. I was told it's not because it's all man-made and craziness, but that would be worth sticking around just to see the faces on these people when they realize that their Bible is complete nonsense and this God is not like that at all. I would love to see it. I
You know what?
I pray that I see that.
There's a scenario that I have going through my head occasionally. The gruesome, I guess, end goal of Christian Zionists is to eliminate everybody, including Jews and Muslims, from that area in order to hasten the second coming of Jesus Christ. I wonder what sort of fucking smoke and mirrors they're going to try to pull off to convince the world that that's actually something that's happening or going to happen.
They have the technology. The technology exists, and they tested it in Africa. And yeah, they actually tested it. There's documents about it. It's not secret. I forget what the name of it is, but they were able to make a holographic image of the image of Mary appear in the sky over a religious area, or I should say over a very Catholic area. And the effect that it had was all of a sudden, all of the tribes in the area and all the villages in the area that had high levels of non-Catholic people, they all of a sudden started to convert.
Really?
So, and it's not hard to manipulate that or to make that happen. It's scientifically very easy, So
I just like to say,
I wonder what they're going to show us.
I just like to say that Tupac, as a hologram, went on tour.
Oh, that's right.
After
Yeah.
he
There
died.
you go.
Okay.
There you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Yep.
Yeah. Why not? Yeah.
Anything can be. I mean, we have all these AI deep fakes. We've got everything.
Yep. Yeah.
Has anybody ever seen the movie Wag the Dog?
Yes.
Oh yeah. The
outstanding movie. And how old is that movie? Wag the Dog. If for everybody who's watching right now, watch that movie.
20 years old. Yeah.
It's gonna send you down a rabbit hole.
Okay, I'm gonna have to watch it.
It's a good. Who is it? Is it
everybody's in it?
Dustin Hoffman,
the producer. Is it Robert De Niro? Is the guy who's trying to run things? The government guy, the CIA guy.
I'm not sure, but I recall Dustin Hoffman very much so.
Yeah, he's the producer, the Hollywood producer guy. Kirsten Dunst, is that her? I can never remember which one the woman is.
Kirsten Dunst.
Yeah, she's in it. She was
Woody Harrelson is in it.
Yes.
Too.
Oh, he plays,
it's a great movie.
The guy who's like, he's this complete and total babbling, like, mental case who's interned in like Leavenworth, who like that was supposedly the guy that they brought back.
Oh my God.
And they made music about him and everything. It's just like, whoa. And they said, oh, okay, he's dead. Okay, we'll just say he died.
I think Willie Nelson was in there too, wasn't he?
Is. Willie Nelson is. I'm looking.
Willie Nelson.
Willie Nelson.
Oh,
Willie Nelson is in it.
He creates the music for the show, right? Or for the
he creates the song that's supposedly found
the old shoe.
Decade, this old thing has been found in the my old friend Shoe. Yeah.
Dennis Leary's in it as well.
There's so many good people in that. Now I gotta watch it.
John. Wow. Okay, the new Sulu from the Kelvin universe Star Trek, John Cho is in it.
Really?
Like Cal Penn and John Cho, right? Yeah.
See?
Cool.
Oh, Wesley's here.
I know Wesley. I was like, welcome back, Wesley. Wesley is our happier version of a Tangelo. You know, or because Wesley is fun to talk to, and Wesley, we do appreciate you, but Wesley doesn't get mean and kind of pissy about stuff. He just Wesley makes
Wesley is Wesley.
Wesleyisms. Thanks, Wesley.
Wesley, call in and leave a voicemail. I would love to hear what you guys
Yes,
say.
Wesley. I know you were here earlier, Wesley. I've set up a heathen hotline. Wesley, we would love to hear your voice. Where's my post? Oops, hold on a second. I'll repost that phone number for you, Wesley. So we can't take the call live, Wesley, but for our next show, you can leave us a message right there, 224-307-5435. Leave us a message, and we will play your message on our next show. We would love to hear from you in person or, you know, via the phone and your voice, Wesley. We always enjoy when you join in. Let's see. Another question.
I don't know if it was Larry or if it was Ralph who talked about the carpet ride. That's what would convince me.
Yeah, magic carpet ride.
Of a sudden, yeah, if the Lord manifested him, her, them, I don't know God's pronouns, selves in my purview, and right, that's subjective. So, and then we got on a magic carpet ride, and then, you know, just started, you know, singing A Whole New World, I would believe.
Yes.
You know, there's a story that I recall that I read many years ago, and I'm not sure who wrote it. I know it's someone. It's a famous author, but the story, it's a short story, and the premise of it is aliens show up, but they don't reveal themselves in their physical form, but the ships are there. Meetings with the world leaders take place, and it's frosted glass where the aliens are on one side and the world leaders are on the other. And they say in 5 years or 10 years, or I think it's 5 years, we will reveal ourselves to you. But before we do that, we want like a certain number of your children. All right. They take the children. Yeah, they take the children and they raise these kids for, let's just say it's 5 years. And then on the day of the big reveal, these aliens come out of the craft and they're holding hands with these little kids. And everybody's appalled and freaked out because all of these great things have been happening since the aliens arrived. You know, it's weird that you take our kids, you know, and all this and that, but we have world peace, we have this, that, and the other thing. But when they come walking down the gangplank or whatever out of the ship, the aliens look exactly like the Christian version of the devil with the horns and the red and the beard and all this and that. Yeah.
See, so, again, that'd be worth.
Are you sure that wasn't a Doctor Who episode?
No, if it was a Doctor Who episode, I know for sure that it was written somewhere because I vividly remember reading it. Yeah.
Yeah, that sounds like a Doctor Who episode. I can totally see that happening, you know. Yeah, right. I'm sorry, guys. I'm a huge science fiction person.
I have never actually watched Doctor Who. I never watched one of them, and I'm almost afraid to start now. Like, I don't know where to start with it, but we'll do that later. I got 2 questions, then we're going to run, so we'll wrap this up here in a second. But this last 2 questions here, this one sort of goes where we're at with this today, because we've all done this. What do you guys think about this? I think I missed part of the question when I copied and pasted here, but basically the arguing over what the Bible says is somewhat pointless. And as I mentioned, I've got a Bible right here, and I read into it when someone says, in Mark, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, let me see what it really says, so I understand it, because I don't have the biblical knowledge some people do. But at the same time, we all say we don't believe the Bible anyway. So is arguing the Bible really even... Is it even a worthwhile exercise, or is it just a necessary function of that's how we have to sort of respond to, in this country, Christian believers? Or are we just making like, okay, but the book of Spider-Man says this? Like, are we arguing fiction with people that believe the fiction? Is that even pointless, or is it a worthwhile endeavor? I don't know if I made clear there, but you understand where I'm going with that.
Yeah, well, you know what, as far as like just having like, insightful debate over scriptures, I don't see a problem with that. Um, and letting like the audience who happens to be within that purview decide on, who gave the better argument, right? But to the point where you argue over scriptures so that it can actually be argued to make scripture part of our way of life is a line that I don't want to see crossed. And I think that for me, that's the fear I have, because that's kind of what I'm seeing. People are utilizing their interpretations of what thus saith the Lord and turning into legislation. And that's the problem. Like, if we just wanted just to make it a matter of scholarship, sure. Argue until your heart's content, until your brain turns even bloodshot red and explodes in your head. I'm being hyperbolic, people, but right. But as far as like when it comes to, I guess, like, with that particular question, would it be more so, can we look at it as the Bible being argued to me to convince me that there is a God? I can answer that question with an N and an O. So I guess, like,
who have said in his heart there is no God.
Right. Yeah. I am the fool. Okay. I'm just the fool.
They're projecting.
Love. Right. I know. But anyway, but yeah, I mean, like, because again, I'm, like the previous question, I am a person who likes an empirical evidence to, to say that such thing exists. And the Bible is not the thing that's going to do it for me. And and to be honest, I don't think it should be the thing to do it for anybody, because it's just it's a book. It's not that good of a book either. And I mean, like, I listen, I read it and watched the movie, but I do not believe that Pennywise exists. Okay. Coming to get me, like, even though I still do not like clowns to this day because of that book. But regardless of that, I know it's fiction, right? And it just came from the mind of an author who writes fiction. And when I look at the Bible, that's what I look at a book of fiction. I mean, yeah, it mentions places that happen to exist, and maybe even some people that happen to exist at that time. But you're not going to convince me that donkeys talk. You're not going to convince me that that the earth opened and swallowed half of Israel because they did not worship the Lord. You're not going to convince me that an angel came to Joseph and said, "Marry Mary anyway." No, she did not cheat on you. So yeah,
right.
What's easier to believe, that a that a God impregnated a human woman with itself, or that a Jewish girl should lie?
Yeah. Jeez, that's a tough one.
Boy, yeah. Come back to me next week. I got to talk to my Jewish friends about that.
It's true.
And I got to give credit to that one to good old Christopher Hitchens.
Yeah,
he has got so many good ones.
Blessed be him, the rock of Hitchens. Blessed be he and his Johnny Walker Black.
I wish he was still around.
Yeah, me too.
He was good.
Yeah, I mean, I want to shout out to Matt real quick, Matt Gilmore. I want to see more of that beautiful little kitty. Tell that cat I said, tell that cat I love her.
There you go, Matt.
Yeah. I have a cat, but I never call her my cat. She's the cat that I live with, because she will not be owned.
Like your roommate that tolerates you.
Exactly, that she tolerates me.
All right, so we have one more video, because I thought this was a good video to end on, because it is the 5th, and I'm not sure when we'll do our next one exactly, but this is the month of Halloween. Cynthia and I were talking about this. We're going to actually have a party for the group here in Chicago at my place, getting close to Halloween. But then this came out today. It just popped up. I'm like, you got to be kidding me, this. But here we go. Let's see. Play this one. Here we go.
This morning, a Christian group is promoting a faith-based alternative to Halloween.
I love the name.
It's called JesusWeen. JesusWeen.com. Halloween is a day to celebrate ungodly images and evil characters. The pastor who created JesusWeen says Halloween is not consistent with the Christian faith, and many people feel uncomfortable on that day. So the group is asking Christians to dress in white and hand out Bibles and other Christian gifts instead of candy. It also asks people to knock on doors and share the message of Christianity. The head of the Department of Religion at Texas Christian University gave her take on JesusWeen and Halloween.
I just can't stop saying
Christians, that is the primary point, that you spread the word. And so I think you take whatever opportunity you've got. I don't think Christians need to feel guilty about putting their kids in costumes and sending them out to shake down the neighbors for candy bars.
Nadia Levitsky also notes that like many American holidays, Halloween has pagan and Christian roots. She says Halloween means All Hallows Eve, the day before All Saints Day.
There you go.
There you go. Even. I know. It's like, why are you trying to shove your JesusWeen in my face?
That
was the best name you could come
out
out
my face.
Did you not run that by a 9th grader before you came out with JesusWeen? Oh my gosh. I don't know how old that video was. It was obviously a little bit older, but like,
oh my god.
I didn't have to look up.
Listen, I don't want any ween in front of my face unless it's consensual. But
exactly. JesusWeen.
Oh, that's delicious. That's freaking amazing.
That's the band Ween Gone Christian.
That is so. I just thought that is the. And when I first saw, I was like, "Wait, hold on! Did I just hear
by a 9th grader?"
Yeah, I love that.
Right, my inner 9th grader, my inner 14-year-old just came out straight up.
And we all instantly cracked up. You guys all hit like you guys got it instantly. That JesusWeen came out of the woman's mouth. I was like, even saying that, I can't say. Well, not JesusWeen came out of her mouth. Like that's terrible by itself. Man.
Oh, wow.
I like what Titus said. He said, "I'm throwing a snowball if they knock on my door."
Yeah. Chicago snowballs.
I can't not notice kitties, Matt. I can't not notice them. I love them all.
Oh yeah, we do want to say hello to Snickers, Matt's
cat.
So
you a good girl.
So we're gonna make that our last ending because I thought you can't land on anything better than JesusWeen. That's that's a happy ending right there.
You talk about a happy ending right there, landing on JesusWeen.
Ridiculous.
Oh my god.
But anyways, thank you guys for joining this call, and thanks for all the people that joined in: Wesley and Esla and Titus and Blueberry and
Is JesusWeen straight up or curved to the side?
I think it's a little bit always to the left. Yeah.
The arc of JesusWeen is long, but it bends towards justice.
Yeah. Not the length, it's the girth of Jesus. Oh, spread wide. But yeah, for all of you at home, thanks for tuning in. And we'll cut up pieces and parts of this, so we always encourage you to join. Hey, buddy. But again, if you have questions or comments, please leave a message in the comments. We always try to get back to you as quickly as possible. We appreciate you joining in. Make sure you like and subscribe. Again, even if you don't like us, I love the interaction we do. We will do these as frequently as we can. I also do the mic drops every Wednesday. And again, and if you are an atheist or you're going through some sort of deconversion or you think you have an interesting story, reach out to me, let me know, because I would love to have you as a one-on-one, and we'll discuss that because I like to hear people's stories and get a different walk of life. But until we meet again, and the three of you stay on, we'll talk a little bit in the green room after this. But for the rest of you, have a great evening, and we'll talk to you next time.
Bye.
Take care, everybody.
Thanks for tuning in. I really hope you enjoyed that. If you have a question for me or any of our guests, make sure you drop a comment. We'd love to hear from you. Hey, and do me a favor, like and subscribe. That really helps us out and it helps us bring you more conversations from beyond belief. And in the meantime, take care and remember, reason and compassion go a very long way.